Test, let's go here. All right. Progressive Examiner here with an interview with congressional candidate Alex Law running in New Jersey's 1st Congressional District. Alex, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to start with a simple question, or at least I think it's simple. Tell me what you think Bernie Sanders' political revolution is about, or at least what it means to you.
Well, right now I'm the only candidate running for federal office in New Jersey that's endorsed Bernie Sanders, something I'm very proud of because I believe in this message that he's bringing to the national stage. And that's one of putting people first in politics, saying big money, millionaires and billionaires should not dictate the course of our democracy. And I think fundamentally that's what makes his campaign and campaigns like the one that we're running down here in South Jersey so very exciting and so engaging with people.
Do you support, or if you were a member of Congress, would you support a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United and all related decisions that would go back in one direction to 1976 with the Buckley v. Valeo decision that essentially equated money spent on political campaign speech as speech itself, protected it as the First Amendment right, and in another direction all the way back to the 19th century where corporations were given the rights of individuals? Would you support an amendment that overturned those two Supreme Court doctrines?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the literature, we've knocked on over 20,000 doors already, and on every piece of literature, the first thing on there is campaign finance reform, because I really believe that, you and I might have a difference in policy, but until we change our campaign finance system, we can't have that honest disagreement because our democracy is being bought. So I would support a constitutional amendment that overturns Citizens United, but I should add that I think there are things that we can do now, even without a constitutional amendment, looking to somewhere like Seattle, which has passed comprehensive pay-to-play legislation that eliminates that kind of corruption from government, something that is a huge problem here in South Jersey and something that I would certainly support communities across the country in adopting. Further, I think another part of improving our political system in the same theme of campaign finance reform is term limits. I think it's very important for Congress to have term limits. Personally, I would support 5 terms in the House, 10 years, or 2 terms in the Senate, 12 years.
Switching subjects to climate change, would you support mandates, for example, on automobile and recreational vehicle manufacturers who either sell vehicles or produce vehicles here in the United States? Would you support mandates compelling them by some future date, let's say 2020 or 2024, somewhere out there, to give them time to engineer the changes necessary, mandates that compel them to have their vehicles energized by something besides fossil fuels, whether it's batteries or hydrogen or anything like that?
Well, I think mandates are a solution, and if they were proposed as the solution that the consensus wanted to go with to address climate change, I would certainly support that. But I think there's other things we can look at. I think we can look at subsidizing the purchase of cars that are powered by something other than fossil fuels. Looking at, instead of forcing the producers of the cars to do something, we can incentivize consumers to make more responsible purchases towards that end. But I think with sustainable energy, we see a tremendous economic opportunity as the United States of America to lead the world in energy technologies that everyone will need, and everyone does need. We're a primarily service and technology-based economy, and it would be a real economic misstep if we were not to take advantage of this and let other countries like Sweden or Iceland or other parts of Europe take that economic opportunity from us. We have an opportunity to lead the world.
Would you support higher taxes on the top 1% of income earners?
I think that's incredibly important to the idea of what government should do. Aside from keeping us safe and making sure we have roads and that sort of thing, To me, what government does is make sure that everyone has a chance to be successful. That idea of the American dream. And right now we're seeing more and more wealth being concentrated on the 1% or the 0.1%. People aren't getting to play by the same set of rules. There's a certain set of rules for the very rich, for corporations like GE that pay 0% taxes, while small businesses pay 30-some% taxes. And that difference in rules isn't okay. So I think whether it's raising taxes for the rich to make sure they pay their fair share, or getting rid of loopholes, which allow us to actually bring the tax rate down, but increase the amount that's coming in and make the tax system more fair, I would look at supporting measures like that.
What top marginal tax rate would you support? You talked about lowering taxes, but so what is the top marginal rate? It's currently 39%. What's the top marginal rate you would support?
I lost you for a second there, but I think that what you were saying with the question was that what was the top end tax rate that I would support? To me, I think that's less important, finding that fixed number. What I think is more important is getting rid of the enormous system of loopholes, figuring out a way to fix our democracy so rich and corporations can't buy legislation that creates these loopholes for them. And if we can create a system with less tax loopholes, we can bring that tax rate down. An area where I do think it's absolutely vital that we do raise taxes is when we're thinking about Social Security. Raising that cap of income that is taxed to go towards Social Security will allow the Social Security program to continue to be solvent for the next 75 or 100 years.
Is there any policy position that Senator Sanders has taken that you would disagree with or do disagree with?
Off the top of my head, no. I know when his campaign first started, a lot of people talked about his stance on guns. I think that his stance on guns has evolved as he's now seeking to represent the United States of America as our president rather than the senator of a primarily rural state. So his evolution on that subject has been pleasing to many of us progressives. In general, I agree with almost everything that Senator Sanders has said. I think the challenge for the rest of us progressives that do support him is how do we take some of that progressive vision that he and we all have and make sure, yes, we're applying it nationally, but how do we make sure that we apply it to the communities that we all come from?
Are you challenging, are you primarying a Democrat, or are you going to be running against a Republican? What's his current status of the representation in New Jersey's 1st District?
So I come from a district that is primarily Democrat. There's 172,000 Democrats here, 60,000 Republicans. So the winner of the Democratic primary will very likely be the winner in the general election, especially in a presidential year. So I'm running against a man by the name of Donald Norcross. He's part of the Norcross machine. He is the embodiment, in my opinion, although he's a Democrat, of everything that Bernie Sanders is running against. He's for big money in politics, special interests. He has the most conservative voting record of any member of the New Jersey delegation since he got to Congress 2 years ago. And his machine actively works to lower the amount of people that come out and vote. In his election last time, he got 18,000 votes in the primary out of 172,000 Democrats. To me, that shows political apathy. That shows an opportunity, though, for what our campaign is doing here with hundreds of volunteers knocking on tens of thousands of doors to really be able to win this thing, putting people first.
Are many of your volunteers also active working for Bernie Sanders?
Some of them are. Some of them are supporters of Bernie Sanders and working primarily with us. And some of them are independents or conservatives, because we have such a problem here with corruption. This Norcross machine is incredibly corrupt, pay to play everywhere you look, legislation that benefits them and their family. So a lot of people, conservative, independent, liberal, progressive, whatever label you want to put on people, are flocking to this campaign because of the positive, honest leadership that we're offering.
Well, I appreciate your time with us today, Alex, and certainly wish you good luck.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. And if you have any more questions, I'd be happy to come back on.
Thank you.
All right. Have a